Hello, people. We are Tottenham TV. Newcastle 2, Tottenham 0. Spurs out the Carabao Cup. 1 trophy down the drain. We've still got a couple more to go for, though. Don't worry, guys. Yeah, look, I think in balance of play, Newcastle definitely deserved to go through tonight. They were the better team, and I think once they made all those changes, there was no route back in the game for Spurs. But look, the way the game started, Newcastle definitely put it on us. We were struggling to get out our own half. They go 1-0 up, and deservedly so. But from that point on, in the first half, I thought Spurs were really, creeping into the game, creating chances, creating openings. Couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Richarlison with a header straight at Ramsdale. Ramsdale was forced into a couple of good saves throughout the game, and I thought at times the build-up did look a lot better. It looked like we were able to create moments from open play, which we haven't really done so in previous weeks or the majority of the season. But we came up against a better side today, didn't we?
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, we did. I think what we've got to look at as well, the 2 goals we gave away were really poor goals, weren't they? Especially the Kinski one. I mean, there can be the debate for Spence and should we have been allowed to get back in shape or not, but the Kinski one was just stupid. I mean, also the player who's going up against him, Watermead, what are you doing with his frame? And then I think what I did see from today is, like we said, offensively, I think we looked a lot better, created loads of chances, but we need a monster goal scorer. We need a number 9 that's got that killer instinct. Like Richarlison was getting into the place, missed a couple, whether it was just behind him and he's mistimed his Ryan, or we just need someone that is ruthless and will take their opportunities when they come. So it looked better from created chances from open play than it has in previous games. But then we just didn't have anyone to put it away, did we? Not one.
And I think we probably suffered from, first of all, making the changes that we did before the game, taking no Van der Ven, no Kudus from the start. I think those 2 things probably did hamper us at the end of the day, albeit Brennan was okay, but I definitely think having no Van der Ven there was to our detriment. And I think the moments, the different moments in the game really cost us. So going 1-0 down once, Spence was doing his laces, didn't get time to get back in the box, and all of a sudden we're a goal down, but deservedly so. Not taking those chances at the end of right at the end of the half when we were building up ahead of steam, building up some momentum. Actually playing some good stuff at the end of that half. Xavi, Bergvall getting in those pockets of spaces, and then we said at half time, okay, we're doing well, but we've got to make sure we got the next goal, and then we start the second half. It was quite even, and to concede when we did in the manner that we did, when we were looking like maybe we could be the ones getting the next goal, that was a hammer blow. I think that was a real killer moment in the game. As soon as it went 2-0, we did have a couple of half moments. Richarlison had a volley, which Ramsdale saved. Sarr had a shot from the edge of the box, didn't he, which Ramsdale took away. I think that was all at 2-0. Apart from that, we struggled to really hurt them, I felt, especially in the last 25 minutes.
It felt like half time just came at the wrong time for us. It's like we were really on top. We were really pressing the issue. We were playing through the lines. We were pinging it around them. We looked really good, to be honest, in that 20-minute spell at the end of the first half. And I know the goal comes obviously at the wrong time, like you say, but I did feel Newcastle came out the better of the 2 after the break. And, that half-time break just let them, gather themselves up and get on top again. And that 20-minute, apart from that 20-minute spell, I felt that Newcastle were probably the better team throughout the game.
And as soon as they had Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno on, it was like game over. They shut everything down. We couldn't get out of our own half. They were just pressing us into oblivion, and it was really a hard watch. And it's like you're trying to watch. You're obviously hoping Tottenham get back in the game, and you're just watching them not being able to get out of their own half, not even able to get a corner or a shot or anything. And it was really, really tough. And I think Newcastle, once they brought on their A-team, it was game over, essentially.
But I do think it goes back to what Brian says, like, we need a real killer up there, man. We do. We need a real killer. Ramsdale made 6 saves today, 5 saves, from, I think, shots in his own penalty area or something. So I think Ramsdale on SofaScore gets the best rating out of any player on the pitch. 9.4 they gave him. Like, that's mad. And we were all clowning on Ramsdale before the game, but he actually had a top game, to be honest. Fair play to him. But we need that killer.
Save, though, didn't he? That he had to make a proper save.
Well, there was the Saar one. Is that the one you're talking about? The Saar one? Yeah, that was the only
Apart from that,
Hollywood
really-
save.
What is it with Newcastle goalkeepers having worldies against us?
Yeah,
Or
Apart from
making
that
those
Saar
saves?
save, all the other ones straight at
routine.
him.
Yeah, I guess. But
So a couple of weak headers from
Yeah,
Richarlison.
Richarlison.
And
The-
then there was that volley, which he had his whole body behind it. It was
the
pretty
most
good.
frustrating thing, though, is like, however much, like, look, we were in the game, I thought, for the majority of it, but to concede in the manner of that we conceded those 2 goals, I think that's what it comes down to today. Like you were saying before, Brian, that first goal, we should not be conceding that goal. No matter what you want to complain about Spence, like, it's Shah is completely free in the box, and we pride ourselves on defending and attacking these set pieces. And to concede like that is a real kick in the teeth.
Yep.
And,
Came up against a team who have been doing this for years.
I know, but like, you can't leave a man free in the box like that. You can't.
Well, we've defended zonally, and he's running from the edge of the box, and so we're not doing man marking, and that can happen sometimes. I have to watch it again. He was free when he scored, but he had players around him. But it wasn't like man marking as someone lost their man. We're zonally, so they just exploited that.
I'll tell you one thing we'll take from this as well. You look at it, and for the few games where Vicario wasn't doing well, there was big talk. Is he going to make is Kinski going to have a real push to go for it? And obviously,
Yeah.
Vicario's just proven in the last 2 games why it's number 1. And you see this, and Kinski's had an opportunity today to say, I'm here, I am going to compete. And he is just, it's a howler, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was the killer
howler.
blow as well.
Yeah,
It was a
that
killer
has been a
blow.
howler.
Because if that doesn't go in, anyone's game, we can nick one
Yeah.
and take it to penalties or whatever. At 1-0, you're always in the game. But at 2-0, as much as I had belief going into like up until the last 10 minutes, it never looked like we were going to score really.
Yeah.
So
And I'm watching the goal. I'm sorry, the goal that we conceded. Kinski, I mean, gets lofted in. Voltmader is like a 6'6" striker with, easily could get his head on it. There wasn't a lot of power on the cross. So if Kinski knows if he can just stay on his line, he's got a good chance of saving it because there's not a lot of power on that cross. But he comes flying out like Superman, thinking he's going to punch the ball, but he actually gets nowhere near it. I don't like. If you watch it back, he's nowhere near punching the ball. He's closer to punching the bottom of Voltmader's head, not even the top of it. And obviously Voltmader easily just say, yeah, thank you very much. I'm going to head this home
Yeah, it would have been
into the empty net.
would have just been like Richarlison's header at Ramsdale, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
If he stayed on the line?
but it's ridiculous. I don't know how he can
he's
come
fucked
out
it up.
flying. It's a complete screw up.
he's completely fucked that up, Kinski. But look, I do think there were positives to take from today. How crazy as it sounds, a 2-0 loss. But I thought Jed Spence was brilliant at left back. I thought for the majority of the game he was dominating that side and he was getting forward as well. I really liked what I saw from him today. I thought Moani looked decent when he came on as well. Like that run that he was going on, and then the ref. That was just the day we were having. The ref just gets in the way and tackles him pretty much. The ref was being a Newcastle defender for a few minutes. But I really like what I saw from Moani when he came
Moani had
on.
a shot yet?
I don't know. I don't know, to be
He
honest.
had the air shot, didn't he?
He had the air shot.
Champions League.
But look, he's looking decent on
Yeah,
the ball.
he is looking decent.
He's looking decent on the ball. I thought it was a step forward for Javi today. I thought he got more involved than he has done in previous weeks. And, everything seems to be, he seems to be seeing a lot of the ball. And I think he was a bit rusty in the first few minutes of the game, playing a poor pass. But, he got himself more and more involved as the game progressed. I thought Lucas Bergvall in the first half looked dynamite, to be honest, but he kind of petered out in the second half. So I think there were, and Paulinho was class today as well.
Again, yeah. I think it's just a consequence of us having up to how many injuries we have now? 11?
10, 11, yeah.
So I think our squad is stretched thin. And I think at the moment you're going away to Newcastle, who, they've got a pretty good squad these days, and they're able to change it up a bit. Bring in the likes of £40 million Ramsey in the midfield and things like that, and Elanga 40 million, bring him in, and at the moment we're just stretched thin, and we made a few changes, and whatever it is, we have a very thin squad. Although we had 3 youngsters on the bench, and it just, unfortunately for us, we just weren't able to cope at the times today. And I think especially Newcastle, when they brought their big hitters on, it was they shut the game down. It was game over. So it's frustrating. I think there are positives to take.
Yep.
But I think unfortunately, we're just suffering at the moment from these injury problems, and we've seen it in a few midweek games now. This isn't the first one. Have we had a good midweek performance yet?
No. Have we had a good performance?
Oh, well, if you listen to Frank, And we've only had one bad performance. But anyway, I'm just saying, in midweek, we're struggling to balance, I feel. Although we have been getting all right results in midweeks.
But I think in terms of how midweek performances have gone, this has been the best of the lot.
It's been, yeah, maybe. In terms of on the ball.
But I think you look at it, like Monaco, we should have lost that game 6 or 7-0.
Yeah.
Bodo as well, like we could have conceded so many more than we did. Villarreal was just a nothing game from both sides. I thought today we actually looked decent going forward at times. We just didn't have that killer blow and that killer instinct. And in defence, you know, it's not like we were getting peppered and they should have scored 5 or 6 goals. So I think
you say that, Willock missed an absolute gilt-edged
True.
chance. Barnes hit the bar when he had an unbelievable gilt-edged chance. They did have a lot of big
But it didn't
chances.
seem like we were under pressure as much as we were in the Monaco and the Bodo games.
That's true.
So I think, like, from a defensive and offensive standpoint, I think when you compare it to the other midweek games, I think it's been the best one.
Okay, but that doesn't mean much. It's still
It means it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
I would say going forward, fine. I would say we were on the ball better today, and I actually quite like this setup. He's got going this 3-2-5 kind of build up. I think I like how he gets both tends to get closer together, and I like how it gets them on the ball and it gets us creating chances. I liked at times in that second half, in the last stage of the first half, we looked like we were being a lot more aggressive. We were pressing a bit more and pinching the ball in dangerous areas and looking like we would create chances from there. But look, it's baby steps, unfortunately, from that point of view.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I still think, look, despite it's steps in the right direction, but still a 2-0 loss, which we deserved. And we are struggling at the moment to balance. And I think it's due to a lot of the amount of injuries we have, to be honest. And we have, which we do. And if we had all the players available, I think we'd be able to manage this situation a bit better. But look, to be fair, results-wise, apart from today, like the midweek results haven't been bad. It's just performance has been pretty bad.
Yeah, and the weird thing about it is, like, when you're talking about the best one out of the lot is the only one that's resulted in a loss.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it goes sometimes. But look, I think like players like Richarlison, like, they need to be grabbing these opportunities with both hands, because he's got Muani breathing down his neck. He's got Solanke to come back as well. Like, he had the chances. He had the chances today, Richarlison, to bring us back level and to bring us back into the game. So I was really disappointed with Richarlison today.
Yeah, I think half of it won't go on, Brian.
No, I was just about to say, I think the main one that's really doing it for me with Richarlison is that whipped in ball that you thought maybe he'd just been behind it. I think he could have got to it. I really think Dan Burn may have off-put it. But we saw as well there was a chance when we're building up on the left, and Richie's picking the ball up on the left and crossing it in. If you're not crossing it in, if you're crossing it in, who's in your place? We just need... That's why I keep saying, when Solanke comes back, or now one is getting fit, Solanke will stay in the box. Whether he can stay fit, whether he can all of a sudden score goals on the regular, I don't know, but he will be there. His strength and aerial ability is key, but Spurs need to find a killer in up top. Newcastle lost Isaac and went and found Watermeter and paid the big money for him, and they're reaping the rewards, aren't they? We've been left short in that department with big players leaving. They've replaced Isaac in one window, in the same window.
Yeah.
Whereas we go on and need to wait years and years, or windows and windows, to replace big players that have left, and Spurs need to find a striker.
Yeah,
Well, we have
big
3
time.
at the moment, so we've got.
They need a
And
better
only
Well, we don't know about Muani.
That's the thing. Muani and Solanke are both out at the moment, so we just haven't seen enough of them.
Muani's back.
Muani's back, but he can just about play 60 minutes, so you've got to give him an opportunity. Richarlison's been playing the brunt of football. I think half of the problem today was the delivery to him. I think it was just either a centimetre behind him or a centimetre in front of him for too many times, and then he had that one big chance right at the end of the half where he has to score. I mean, the other ones, I think they would have been good goals if he scores them. And I wouldn't say that he has to, like, they're gilt-edge opportunities. I think he had one gilt-edge opportunity and then maybe a couple of half chances, and then a couple of times the delivery wasn't good enough, or good enough for him to score, essentially, because it was either behind him or in front of him. So He has to be doing better. Look, when you're a Premier League striker at our club against a good team like Newcastle, and you get a chance, you've got to score it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get punished, and that's what happened today, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Especially a striker you spend 60 million on, you expect better, to be honest. So, disappointing to come away with a 2-0 loss. Obviously, out the cup, we move on to Chelsea. So don't get any easier. Chelsea on the weekend at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we need a win, people.
But in hindsight, do you think it was a mistake to rest Kudus, rest Van de Ven? Like, could he have played those players?
I don't think Johnson was too bad today, to be honest. I think, he was putting in crosses. He looked quite decent out on that right-hand side. And when we did make those changes, we were all calling it for so long, calling for it for half time. When we did make the changes, it didn't make too much of a difference. Like,
They had Bruno and Tonali and Joelinton on the
I think Kudus got marked out of the game pretty much. Muani, make a little bit of an impact, but not exactly game-changing impact. So, mate, you could say you got it wrong, but you need to change it. When you've got so many games and not so many players, you need to make the changes to keep players fresh. So
I agree.
Can't really lay it down too much on Frank for the team that you've picked.
Yeah, and I think Van de Ven definitely needed a rest. No, he hasn't. He's been playing superbly, but we know with Van de Ven, he does need resting. He does need looking after. So would it have made a difference with him on? Probably from 90 minutes, but
we did score from that. We conceded from a set piece, and we conceded
but this
from
is the time, like you said, that both years he has picked something up. All right, he's changed his running style. He's not using his pace. Was that the right move to do? Time will tell, won't it?
All right, so that's the match reaction. Shall we have a look at some of these player ratings?
Let's do it. Do you have them?